We are continuing today our focus on having something more than a not bad year. We've talked about seeking a great year. We've dreamed God-sized dreams, and we've fully committed ourselves in our lives to God this year. But it takes even more than dreams and commitment. It takes courage. It takes daring to step out in faith. And that's where our story comes in this morning from the 14th chapter of Matthew, the 22nd verse. Immediately, Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they cried. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord, if it's you," Peter replied, "tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You have little faith," he said. "Why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshiped him, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." I have never been much of a risk taker. I just don't enjoy pain and suffering. You know, it's not that I'm a wimp, but I was a math major, and I understand statistics and probability. And the probability of me becoming a statistic never excited me. So it was really a big deal. That one January day when I went down Killer Hill. Now, you know what Killer Hill is, don't you? Every neighborhood when I was growing up had a Killer Hill. It was the sliding hill that was so steep and dangerous that legends were born. Did you hear that the Szymanski twins took their new toboggan down Killer Hill? Only one of them ever made it back. And he was so messed up, they don't know which one he is. Now, we never actually knew the Szymanski twins, but it seemed plausible. Our Killer Hill was about 1.5 miles from our house, there in the middle of a farmer's field. And we had a park pretty much right in our backyard that had a nice sliding hill. But one day my friend said, "You know what would be great? We should go down Killer Hill. Come on, it'll be a blast." And so that January day, we journeyed out to Killer Hill. Now, to be honest, I don't know how big Killer Hill actually was. It's long since been bulldozed and made into housing. I do know that at the time it was the tallest hill around, and it had what amounted to a 10-foot cliff about 2/3 of the way down. That meant that for the last third of your ride, you would be airborne like ski jumpers in the Olympics. But the scariest part of all was that about 15 feet from where you landed was a barbed wire fence. More than one child found out the hard way that you don't showboat after sticking a spectacular landing on Killer Hill. Well, there we were at the top of the hill. My friends in the front of the toboggan, and me in the back. And they're encouraging me to push off and jump on. But I can hardly make my feet move. I was frozen in place for a while. But then after much encouragement, I gave a mighty shove and hopped on back, and we went down Killer Hill. Only it didn't kill us. It thrilled us. It was way more fun than any ride at Valley Fair. And I felt sorry for the kids back in town going down their respectfully safe City Park Hill. We were the only ones that year who dared to go down Killer Hill. But it was worth every exhilarating moment. And I learned something about risk that day. Not every risk is worth taking, but some are. Sometimes the stupidest thing is to play it safe. And it seems like our world today is increasingly trying to play it safe. And I don't want to go all nostalgia on you, all walking to school barefoot, uphill both ways kind of thing. But when I was a kid, our elementary school playground had a teeter-totter, a 20-foot slide, and swings on asphalt. By the time my kids came along, they had removed all that and replaced it with ground-up rubber and no playground equipment, because that would be too dangerous. Becky Mizell tells a story of attending a big Girl Scout camp out with her daughter and being told that the rules of that particular camp forbid the girls from toasting their own marshmallows for s'mores. It's too risky. Boy, we're getting good at playing it safe. And I know it's a scary world out there. Although I sometimes wonder if we're really less concerned with people's safety than we are with whether or not we get sued. But still, life can be risky. And if you want to have a pretty good, not bad year, maybe the best thing to do is to play it safe. But if you want to have a great year, well, then you can't play it safe. Because a great year isn't a safe year. It isn't safe at all. A great year takes you on an adventure with God that not only leads you through green pastures and still waters, but also to killer hills and even the valley of the shadow of death. You want a great year? Then you need to step out in faith. Jump on board the sled and push off. Climb out of the boat and try walking on water. And I just love this story from the 14th chapter of Matthew because it hits so close to home. For one thing, it starts out with Peter and the other disciples all by themselves out in the middle of the lake. And notice that it says that Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him while he dismissed the crowds. Jesus has gotten his friends into the boat, and then he shoved it off without him. It's like those pranksters who shove you off the top of the hill on the toboggan and then don't hop on the back and just laugh at you as you go flying down the hill in terror. Sometimes it feels like Jesus just shoves us off